Well, hi there, piano peeps. Today we're diving deep into the world of digital baby grand pianos with the Kawai DG30 and Roland GP6. These two compact digital grands are loaded with impressive features and quality cabinetry, and we're here to give you the lowdown on everything you need to know. From demos to specs and even some hidden gems you might not have heard about, we've got it all covered in this comprehensive comparison and review. Let's dive in and explore the Kawai DG30 and Roland GP6 in all of their glory. As usual, we're going to start with a 30-second demo of each of these impressive instruments. So let's get right into the critical specs, first on the Roland GP6. So first up is the Piano Reality Premium Modeling Sound Engine, which provides an authentic grand piano tone and a response with literally unlimited polyphony in 13 parameters, because this is based entirely around modeling, which means this isn't a sample playback, it's actually recreating the tone from scratch every single time you hit a key. This gives you a ton of editability and customization when it comes to really creating your own tone, and I'm going to get into a little bit more of that when I talk about what I've found to be my ideal custom settings for the GP6. In addition to that, it comes with 324 tones. Now it also comes with two spatial speakers. That's more to provide ambient artifacts that are maybe a little more subtle and not coming out of the mains. It has a main cabinet speaker, which is almost 8 inches in diameter, and that comes with a speaker box. That's the one that's going to be downward facing towards the floor. It also has near field speakers, 2 of them, which actually are right at the front here and are pointing out to kind of provide more of an ambient cabinet resonance sense than what you would normally get out of a digital piano. Now the total rated power output on these 5 speakers is actually 85 watts, which is definitely more than your average console. It's a little bit less than what you typically get out of like the big top of the line machines that are often over 100 watts, but to be honest, I couldn't really get this much more than about 55 or 60% of its total volume before I was comfortably at the loudest that I would ever want it. So I think the 85 watts is more than enough. This is equipped with the Piano Reality Premium keyboard. This is an update to what people would otherwise known as the PHA50 action. So this is one of their hybrid actions. It's got wood sides to it. It's a nice long pivot length. It's got the stabilizer stick. Lots of really great things about the PHA50, and it's a proven action. Equipped with escapement as well as a triple sensor. I've been using the PHA50 for a long time on what used to be my RD2000, and when I don't have to be lugging it around with me in a portable fashion, I really like it. Now, one of the most critical things that they updated about this action and why they've changed the name from PHA50 is they've totally rewritten the algorithm that interprets the sensor data, and they've been able to accelerate the time in which the sensors can deliver an accurate snapshot of velocity to the tone engine, and that has really helped to increase the responsiveness or the sense of connectedness with this tone engine. Now, quite obviously, there is a triple pedal system on this machine. Not too much has changed with the pedaling system versus, say, the previous GP607, except that we now have real modeled dampening rather than simply a sampled playback of that damper sound. Now, between the modeling engine and those 5 speakers lays one of the most important differences and upgrades that this machine has received over the GP607, which is discrete multi-channel digital amplification, which means coming out of the Piano Reality engine are 5 individual audio samples, which are then traveling in digital form to the 5 digital amplifiers directly connected to those speakers, which means there's absolutely no degradation of the signal. It can actually be conceived right at the point of the modeling engine where they want certain artifacts and certain components of the piano tone to be coming through. The result is probably the clearest Roland digital piano that I have ever played up to this point, and probably one of the best digital baby grand experiences I've had. Now, another upgrade with the GP6 is the inclusion of the Smart Touch panel and very intuitive icons and switchable backlighting. So if you want this to disappear, you can actually set it very easily to only appear when you're making changes, and then within a few seconds it actually goes black, and this looks more or less like a clean acoustic piano. Like most digital pianos these days, the GP6 is equipped with Bluetooth audio and MIDI. That means it can receive inbound Bluetooth audio information, and it can also connect to other apps such as the Roland Piano app, but other music production apps that you'll find on tablets and phones as well, such as GarageBand. Every one of those can work quite nicely in a wireless setting. And then finally, it's got all of the basics that you would expect. The advanced metronome, it's got an onboard recorder, dual headphone jacks, both 1/4 inch and 3.5 mil for daily practice or just keeping angry family members at bay who don't want to hear your scales anymore. It's got USB ports for connecting with computers and flash storage devices, and this comes in an ebony or polished white finish. A quick note on the finish. This is a real black polyester finish, which is what acoustic pianos use. There's several benefits to this. 1, it's far more durable, and 2, it's repairable, as this starts to scratch and mark over time, which unfortunately is just an inevitability. This can be buffed just the same way as a $50,000 or $100,000 high-end German grand piano. Let's move now to the Kawai and go through the critical specs on this DG30. They've equipped this with the RH3 Action. The RH3 Action has got a lot of positive press over the last several years. It was included with the Nord Grand model release. Kawai uses it on a lot of their mid-range and in some cases pretty high-end product. It's a plastic action, but it is an action that's extremely well balanced. It's kind of got a medium length pivot. It has a triple sensor. It's also equipped with let-off simulation. Escapement is another word that you will sometimes hear for let-off. Just like the Roland, both the black and the white keys have a nice micro texture on it, so it's a great sense of grip/glide, which anybody who watches the channel knows that's something I actually really pay attention to. Key surfaces are not an afterthought. They really do affect the playing experience. The tone engine on the DG30 is the progressive harmonic imaging sound technology, and that's something that you see across many products within Kawai as well. It's equipped with the SKEX sample set, and those are 88 stereo note samples. And as I mentioned in our recent NAMM video, these are uncompressed, unfiltered samples. So you really get a sense of air and space around these samples. It's very lifelike. The DG30 has a very similar number of additional sounds available to it, over 350. It's got 256 notes worth of polyphony. Driving the system is 2 20-watt amplifiers with digital crossover technology that's splitting that signal between the lower facing woofers and the upward facing tweeters. Like the GP6, the DG30 is equipped with Bluetooth MIDI and audio, with a ton of built-in repertoire from popular method books such as Alfred's. It's got the audio in and out connectivity, in this case both through paired 1/4 inch ports. The DG30 also uses a real black polyester finish. It also has, buried within its capabilities, a 16-track MIDI recorder, which isn't a feature that I would personally find useful in 2023, since I prefer to do that type of work on a laptop or in some sort of software environment. It also offers an MP3 recording option in addition to WAV, which is also something, for whatever reason, that you don't often see in the digital piano world. Recording to wave is very common. Recording to MP3 where it's capturing sort of in PCM form and then converting an MP3 all in one stage makes it great for sharing straight off of a USB drive. Let's now really dive into the piano playing experience between these two. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of back and forth and really trying to describe for you some of the critical differences and observations that I get as a piano player behind these two instruments. Now, the first thing I'm going to mention with both of these is spend the time to set the sound up to really suit your space and your ear. Even more so with the Roland, your capacity to sculpt the sound in a direction you like is pretty enormous. And I found that I changed 5 or 6 parameters before I really found something that I was super connecting with, and we're in a little bit more of an ambient space in this room. And so all of that plays a part in what you wind up doing in the editor. For me, I found that using the stage piano instead of the concert piano gave me a tone that felt a little more clear and a little bit of a better balance between an open sound, but not something that sounded too distant or too disconnected from what I was doing over here. I also changed the soundboard type to 3. I reduced the brilliance level to -3, and I've also increased the touch to 60 to the heavy versus the 50, which is kind of neutral between light and heavy. So quite a few little modifications there, but I found by doing that I had a piano that was peaking when I expected it to peak. It was nice and dynamic in the middle of the instrument or in my mid dynamic ranges, but super sensitive when I really wanted to get a nice pianissimo. Yeah, you really get into a beautiful flow there that feels supernatural, and you're not, sorry Roland, but that label is just stuck in there. Let's give the DG30 another quick play. So I've got to say, even though there are aspects of both of these instruments I like, the difference in the sonic experience as a player between these two is enormous. It's huge, and not necessarily for better or for worse, although there are definitely parts about the GP6 that I think have taken the sophistication of the sonic presentation to a new level. But these are very different. So here's what I'm noticing on the DG30 first. First of all, the sound feels way more close. This almost sounds like I'm playing an upright piano, even though I'm looking at something that is a baby grand. So just the sense of space between my ear and the sound coming at me is very short, very shallow. So in that regard, you're almost playing something like a CA501 that looks like a digital baby grand. You also have a much higher level of cabinet resonance coming off those bottom two speakers. It's very warm. There's a ton of the whole cabinet is really resonating, particularly in the bass. And what's interesting is that having the speakers closer to your ear gives you the sense that you're hearing more, but when you're in the middle, there is the sound becomes quite blended. Yeah, so the detail stays really nice and present in your highs. You load it up with notes across the full range and you really start to get some blending rather than maintaining some separation. Over on the GP6, the more you go back and forth, you realize that the DG6 is just producing a bigger, wider tone. And this isn't just because you've got more wattage. I mean, it is putting out more sound, but the way that the sound is coming at you is designed to create the aural illusion that it's even bigger than what's here. I think Roland is making efforts and has successfully made the effort to replicate not just the visual look of playing a baby grand, but the sonic experience of playing a baby grand. And this is super conscious. Because keep in mind, you've got two speakers right here. It's not like Roland is trying to skimp on the number of sound sources. They could easily have put some tone ports here and had, highs blasting our way from the top EQ range out of the tone engine. But this is here strictly to provide a sense of cabinet resonance and kind of duplex scale out of the right side and maybe some damper noise out of the left side. This is really just almost a spatial effect that's here. But then there is just physically more space between yourself and those back speakers, providing a lot of those mid-range harmonics. So some of it is simulated through digital wizardry, but there is no replacing a actual distance between your ear and a sound source. The other notable difference is when you really load things up here, there's no degradation of clarity. You still get this beautiful separation of the sound. comes to the action of these two, even though the physical configuration between them is quite a bit different, I actually don't find the playing experience to be vastly different. I do find that the lateral give on the RH3 is slightly looser than what I find on the Piano Reality Premium, and I find that the bottom of the key bed on the Piano Reality Premium does feel a little more crisp or a little more firm. So if you're somebody who really likes to dig in and play in your higher volume registers a lot of the time, I suspect, and of course this is only my opinion, that you're likely going to prefer this action. If you spend most of your time playing on an action in kind of your lower and mid dynamic ranges, you may actually find the RH3 to be slightly more satisfying, but that's only my guess. Here are my final thoughts on the comparison between these two. If you're looking for an instrument where the look of a grand piano is the priority rather than trying to replicate at a fanatical level the experience of playing a grand piano, then the DG30 I think is going to be a really good option for you. It's a little bit more compact, so if space is a concern, you know, you're shaving off several inches compared to what you've got on the GP6. You get the look that you're trying to achieve, and the sound is nice and close and detailed and certainly warm. Particularly through the headphones, this is a really great experience on the DG30. For people who aren't just trying to simulate the look of a grand and you're trying to replicate the experience of playing a grand, I think the GP6 accomplishes this with probably the smallest form factor that you possibly could. I get a sense of space between my ear and where the sound is actually originating from. I get a real sense of cabinet resonance that doesn't feel too woofy or overblown. And the level of editing I have inside the tone engine really lets me zero in exactly what's going to work for my space in a slightly more intuitive way than what you can get at with the Virtual Technician on the Kawai. So thanks everybody for checking out another piano video here on the channel. My name is Stu Harrison. Please leave a comment. We'll get to as many of those as possible. Until next time, take care. We'll see you soon.